So good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful conference. And I hear that it has been very successful for the past 2 days. I'm honored to be here representing my Karambhumi, Canada, in my Janambhumi, India. Thank you also for the kind introduction. I'm first and foremost a wife and a mother of 2 sons and 2 daughters-in-law. I have a deep passion for physics and education, and my mission is to make physics easy and meaningful and to contribute to reform to education system in whichever way I can. I'm here to share my stories, ideas, and best practices. If you wish to discuss or implement any of these ideas, please feel free to reach out and connect with me. I will be happy to help out. On the other hand, if you have any ideas that have worked for you, I will love to hear them, so please share them after my presentation. The presentation of today is on dynamic pedagogy, a step towards personalized learning. The topics that I will be presenting on are what is dynamic pedagogy for 21st century, what is a 21st century student and a 21st century teacher, pedagogy and assessments, there are some suggestions that I will be giving, educational technology, how we can use it, artificial intelligence, which is in hot news these days. So some ideas that I've learned recently. So although these topics may sound different from each other to you, they are very closely interrelated. They are pieces of the puzzle which make the 21st century education complete. For photo credits, you will be very interested to see that all the pictures, most of the pictures that you will see here, I have created with Copilot GPT using DAO. I am not sure if all of you have heard about it. It's an AI chat GPT, and I use them to create all the pictures according to what I wanted to talk about. The credit has been given in all the slides, so you can see it. And a couple of the pictures that you will see are from another website, and the credit has been given to them as well. So once the credits are over, I will start with my presentation now. So dynamic pedagogy refers to an adaptive and flexible approach to teaching and learning. It recognizes that students have diverse learning needs, and it aims to create an engaging and responsive learning environment. It is individualization of education, instruction to every student's unique abilities and interests and learning styles, continuous assessments that educators can get help from because they can adjust their teaching methods based on the student's progress. It also deals with collaborative learning and encourages collaboration among students, fostering peer-to-peer learning and problem solving. The most important part of this is active learning, where students can actively participate in their own learning process through discussions, projects, and hands-on activities. So let's first all close our eyes and think about why we do what we do. Why do we need dynamic pedagogy? What it means to be a teacher during this time? How has technology affected how we do things? And how can we leverage AI for this purpose? About 20 years back, when my sons were teenagers, they got their cell phones. My older son Akshay used to call and talk on the phone with me, but my younger son Anuj, who's 4 years younger, only sent and responded via text. When I asked Akshay why Anuj does that, he said, "Mom, there is a generation gap between us." 4 years, generation gap? That blew my mind away. And I correlated this with the change in the mindset of my own students in my classes. And I asked myself, how can I keep doing the same things the same way year after year? If the students are changing, then I should also be changing the way I teach, assess, and evaluate. This also meant that change and continuous improvement had become the new status quo. Although changing things is very challenging for us as teachers, it is the need of the hour. I request the administration to support their teachers in the dynamic environment because they will really need it. Here is an example to understand this further. Please look at the Lego structure that is in the photo and let it represent our education system. It was made several years ago and it looks beautiful. We were either afraid to break it, or we did not have the time to make a new structure, or we just did not want to do it. But some people moved or replaced a couple of pieces here and there, but it looked pretty much the same. And that is what our education system was for a very, very long time. And then COVID happened. The structure just broke down and brought the biggest change in our profession. Some educators were not happy and for very good reasons were very, very afraid. Some saw it as an opportunity to build a brand new structure and make it the way they've always wanted to be. In fact, for very good reasons, it forced the educators and administrators to pivot and get going with the new era. I was one of the fortunate ones because I had used technology for my teaching and had supplemented it with the face-to-face for around 15 years. We also had the proper infrastructure in the school. I'm sure you will all agree that COVID-19 in many ways created a revolution in the education system. Now I will tell you how I embraced this change and worked through it. The lockdown happened during our 2-week March break holidays. We have students from 45 countries, so the international students had gone back to their own respective countries and were not able to return. In my classes, I had students in countries with the time zones of 9 to 13 years ahead of us, and a couple of them were 3 hours behind our time. But the good news is that technology helped me reach my students no matter where they were, and it forced me to think of ways how to make it possible. I teach AP Physics to grade 11 and 12, which are crucial years for the future, so I had to make the best thing possible. We have Microsoft 365 at the school, and we use OneNote and MS Team for all our courses. I use these for my lessons, which were also recorded for the students who could not attend because of time differences. MS Team also has a system where you can schedule tests and assignments. So I schedule different test versions at different time zones for the students, for all the students. And the way it works is that when the time is scheduled, the assignment pops up in the OneNote at the start of time, and then it locks at the end of time. I prepared quizzes in Microsoft Forms, and for collaborative work, made sections in the collaboration zone of the OneNote class notebook, and gave extra help via Teams. The thing is that after having gone through that time, I still use those techniques in my classes. When students are performing experiments, they record the data and video in the collab zone so that everybody has access to the data. And the lab report template pops up from Teams in their OneNote where they complete the report. And it gets locked on the deadline. So in some ways, COVID helped me think through and find new ways of teaching and learning. Let's take a step back and think about what education should be about. The focus of education should never be about only completing the curriculum and collecting proofs that the students are learning what we want them to learn by giving tests and exams. And we need to think about, are we in a profession of testing and judging, or are we in a profession of helping students learn? I want to say this again so that it helps you think. Are we in a profession of testing and judging, or are we in a profession of helping students learn? I'm sure most of you will agree it is the second one, helping students learn. That is quite a paradigm shift, right? Because most of the time when we are planning our assessments, we of course are thinking of projects, but a lot of focus is on exams. Education should be about instilling love of learning, building confidence, self-esteem, and courage must be in the forefront of our profession. So let's shake it up. Believe me, just thinking out of the box does not work these days. We all have to think as if there is no box at all. Now, some may think all is going well, so why should we change anything? Fair enough. But here is another personal story that changed my thinking and gave me a paradigm shift of what I just talked about. When my son was working for Facebook, he was doing really well in his career, but he wanted to resign from the job and start his own startup company. I was a little worried, and I asked him why he was risking everything to do something on his own. His answer blew up my mind. He said, "Mom, I don't want my progress to hinder in my progress. I don't want my progress to hinder in my progress." Now, how did I relate that to myself? If all is going well in our classes, we do not want to change sometimes because it will take too much effort and there is a risk those ideas might not work at all. But that doesn't mean that we should not change. We have to remind ourselves that learning is a dynamic word and we cannot make it remain static. In a dynamic environment, due to exposure and usage of technology, there are a few things that we must keep in mind. We can no longer continue to be knowledge givers because knowledge is freely available everywhere these days. We, as experts in our own fields, need to be a bridge to check the authenticity and the credibility of what our students are learning. To initiate the dynamic pedagogical environment, learning must replace teaching. Everyone has to be a learner. The new age school must be only for learners and not teachers and students, because the teachers have to learn along the way as the students are learning to keep up to date with all the new things that are coming our way. So the schools should be learner schools and not teachers and students. Now let's change gears and look at the pedagogical side of things. The biggest challenge is to understand our students who, like I said earlier, change every couple of years. So let's start working on that now. The 21st century students are born in a world in which tech is a given, and their first go-to place to just do anything or learn anything is a social media platform, and now ChatGPT. Their language is also very different. OMG is for oh my God, and TY is for thank you, etc., etc. There are so many that's hard to keep up with them for me. One day, one of my students called me a goat. Honestly, I did not understand this. And then he told me, "Dr. Ahooja, GOAT, goat means greatest of all times." Then I realized he was giving me a compliment. See how much we have to learn with these students now. Now, the second thing that we have to deal with is diversity. Now, diversity is not just about race, gender, etc. It is also about digital diversity these days. Students in your classes will be at different stages in their digital literacy, so we should be aware and be empathetic if they are not skilled in one of the areas that we are dealing with. Neurodiversity is another challenge for us because we have different kinds of learners in our classes. As I mentioned earlier, I have the privilege of interacting with students from several countries, from different socio-economic backgrounds and with diverse talents. What I have learned is that each one of them is special in their own way. Our job as educators is to give them space, resources, and time to discover themselves, help them find their niche, and enhance their skills. My grade 11 AP physics students complete an individual project called Everything is About Physics. The students have to explore the physics principles in whatever they want, whether it is sports, economics, biology, psychology, marketing, dancing, singing, thinking, music, the list goes on. The topic must come from their heart and then go to their mind. They are told not to think, but to feel. I have conversations with them to help them discover their topic and then frame their focus questions. They own their project, connect with outside experts, and by the end of the year, it becomes like their PhD thesis. Trust me, each of these projects is phenomenal. The joy comes from seeing even the weakest student present this project with pride and confidence at the end of the year. And that is my winning day. As we know, it is very challenging to be a teacher in this century. One has to be adaptable and flexible to change their styles and pedagogy. We are also expected to be able to integrate the EdTech and upgrade our skills frequently. The 21st century skills, the 3 C's, have been written for all of us, but I have added a couple of them on my own. The first one is the quantitative aptitude because I think it is crucial for everyone to understand numbers and to deal with them. Because otherwise, they will not be very successful in dealing with maybe shopkeepers or just whenever they're buying something. But the most important skill of the 21st century is courage to take risks. Taking risks with our daily lessons, letting our students make mistakes and learn from them, and having courage to start new projects. However, to do this, you will need support of your administrators. So once again, I request the administrations in the audience and in the schools to support the new initiatives proposed by the teachers for the school or their classes, because innovation only happens when people take risks. All the successful people in this world had taken risks before they got there. You can think about all the tech giants who left their jobs or their university or their studies to start and get where they are now. Learning to just do things safely sometimes never gets anywhere. I started the design thinking project for my grade 12 students and received an innovation grant from the school last year. After I presented the project to the school's faculty members, a young teacher approached me and said to me that she's afraid to start new projects because they could fail. I responded that if you have thought through it and you are sincere about it, go for it. It may not turn out to be perfect in the first year, but good projects evolve, and the projects that evolve are the ones that are really good. She started a project, and the fortunate thing is that she was one of the teachers to get the grant this year. So I request again, administrators, please let the teachers take risk and support them. Teachers, please let the students take risk and learn from their mistakes. Support them to learn from their mistakes because educators need to be role models for students to help them become courageous, confident, and risk takers. And remember, if a person is not making mistakes demonstrates that he or she has probably never done anything. And sometimes there might be disappointments along the way. And in those moments, please tell your students and remind them and yourself that it is never a failure, it is only a setback. It makes a huge difference if somebody says that to me in case I had a disappointment, if I did something and it did not work really well. Changing things and being a disruptor for good reasons of curriculum and pedagogy is not easy, and we all know that very well. But who said difficult is not good? We have the power of technology to make these changes. We are in the best of times. So be brave and be innovative. In the next few slides, I will discuss the assessments that have worked for me and the way I have done them. The AP Physics courses are very challenging because they are the first and second term university courses designed for high school students. Several years back, I met with my academic head and I asked him if I could make students sit in pairs to write the tests. And I explained why I was doing this. I said they will be sitting together not to collaborate and not to copy from each other. They will be there just to support them psychologically. And in case of need, they can give a nudge to ask, because any human being can get stuck at a point where they are not able to think for a moment. Fortunately for me, he agreed. Since then, my students write the test in this fashion. They are told that if they try to collaborate, they will not be able to complete this test in the scheduled time. The partner is only for support and not for copying. It is amazing to see how focused the students are during the test because they know that there is someone who can help them in case of need. It is a psychological support. This has helped the students and they truly appreciate what we do for them. Because if you come to think of it, the students actually are not afraid of writing tests. They are actually afraid of the judgment from us, from the parents, their friends, the society, after they receive their grades. These are the reason the tests intimidate them. There is no learning in the tests for students. It is only for us to collect data. It breaks their confidence most of the time, and the weaker students suffer the most and are not able to get up sometimes at all. The other part of the assessment for me is that whenever I create an assessment, whether it is a homework or any other test or a project, I think of the purpose first before I start designing it. When I present these assessments to the students, I explain this purpose to them. For example, when I gave them to write a lab report after an experiment, I explained very clearly to them why each part of the lab report is given to them, what is the purpose and what they will learn from the lab report, how they will connect it to the theory, how they will bridge it to the procedure of the experiment, how the data will be collected and why it is important, and also how the discussion will loop back into the theory that they started with. I have made small videos to help them actually what I'm expecting from them and to help them to write the lab report successfully. Whether it's a worksheet, I always tell them I will never give you any work to load extra work on your head. The only purpose of any assignment that I give you is to help you learn better. So please use fewer tests and exams. Also ensure that multicultural issues are addressed. Use appropriate language and accessibility. And I'll tell you an example about that. I used to teach at the university, and because in Canada, there are a lot of new people coming to the country, and I had some students who had just arrived in Canada a few months back. When I gave them the first midterm exam, there was a question which mentioned the word Ferris wheel. 3 students came up to me and asked me, what is a Ferris wheel? Because we have no idea what this question is about. It immediately struck me that even I did not know what a Ferris wheel was when I came to the country, and I struck down that question. That question was removed. And since then, I am very careful. And I also announced to the students that in case they are not able to understand any word in the test paper or any other assignment, they should feel free to come and ask me the meaning. Because we cannot expect students to know everything and all the sports games, because I teach physics, a lot of time that happens. Another thing I do in my classes is flexible deadlines. When our classes start in September, the first deadline that the grade 12 students have to face is October 15th, which is the deadline for UK admission applications. November 1st is the deadline for US universities, and the first assessment happens around that time. So I always tell them, if they are applying for UK, they can write the assessment later after the 15th. And if they're applying for November 1st, they should write it earlier so that it does not conflict with their application writing. The applications for US specifically are very, very tedious to complete because there are a lot of essays to be written. These are small things we can do for our students to be empathetic about what they're going through and the stressful times during the grade 12 classes especially. So what kind of assessments should we create? Demonstration of learning can happen by observations. So in our labs, we have whiteboards on all the walls, and the markers are available for students to use them. So after I finish a topic, I sometimes ask them to stand and go to the whiteboard and solve questions. There is a twofold aspect of this. One is students like to just stand up for a little while in class after sitting for some time. The second is that when they are working out the problems on the board, I can see exactly what they're doing and tell them, go to them and have a conversation with them. If there are any mistakes, if they've done well, to congratulate them on that, and then help them do it better in a better method if required. So 2 things are covered here: demonstration of learning and also discussion for learning. So the observation and conversation help a lot for the student to learn better. And eventually, the presentation of learning, which is a product like a test or any assignment that you give them. So here is a food for thought for everybody. Instead of making assessments to check how much the students have learned, could we all make assessments which help them learn? Think about this. For example, instead of asking them, what is the meaning of something? Ask them to find out what that something means and let them learn on their own. Give them projects to lead and present concepts rather than spitting out answers on a test. Whether you believe it or not, I have changed these presentations 3 times in the last 1 week because every day was new. I was learning new things about how to use AI. I created 2 modules. I completed 2 modules on Microsoft Education on AI and played around with AI tools. A big challenge that all of us face is the usage of educational technology has increased pace of change, which has made being digitally literate a moving target. We are always trying to stretch ourselves to learn new things. But remember, using technology is not a 21st century skill. It must be used and only used when it has potential to enhance students' learning and experience. One should not use technology just because it's out there. Following fashion will not be helpful at all. We must think of pedagogy first and then look for the right edtech tool that will fit well or improves learning. Also, instead of using several tools, I strongly recommend that you use the ones that you know already about. Technology will never be able to replace teachers if that is a worry. AI will not be able to do that either. The only change that will happen is in ourselves and the way we help our students learn. If we use technology wisely, we can transform the system by taking small steps every day, every week, and every year. Our school is almost paperless, and my students submit assignments on MS Teams. It is very helpful because we save the environment in the process. Our resources are also online, and it is for the physics experiment, we use video analysis, software videos, and photos to enhance the hands-on experience and learning. The OneNote class notebook is very helpful because the lessons are all there for students to access at any point of time. When I'm teaching, I'm using my digital pen to write on my OneNote notebook on my laptop, and it is projected on the screen where students can see. It also comes on their own notebook and it syncs very quickly. When ChatGPT came, all of us and teachers were afraid, intrigued, and felt a little insecure. There were so many emotions coming along. But here is my thing, there have been so many disruptors like ball pen over fountain pen, calculators over logbooks, laptops over desktops, and the list goes on. AI has been here for a long time on our phones and software, but the difference is that now it is in everybody's hand, and that could be very, very scary. But what do the innovators do in such situations? They do it. Harvard University has done it. Sal Khan Academy has done it. They have come up with tools that can help the teachers and students be successful in their courses. I want all of you to see this picture of mine. My son actually created, this is my image actually that he created with the AI, and I hope all of you like it. And that is when I started learning how to make my own pictures that I created for this PowerPoint presentation. So you can also create assignments, rubrics, tables, projects, tests, comments, just anything. So you can make ChatGPT, Copilot do all of the redundant work and save that time and devote to innovation or giving your students more time to do other things. So the new discussion should be, how do we train our students, get trained to create good prompts for the Copilot or any other chat GPT? Because the better prompt will give better results. If you wish to learn more about AI in education, I encourage you to go to Microsoft Learn and pick up the modules, because that's where from where I also learned. Final thoughts. After a heavy thoughts on education, assessments, and AI, I want to leave you with one simple thought to ponder upon. In addition to preparing our students for the real world, should we also prepare them to make this world more beautiful? Your thoughts are welcome. Thank you. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, and my contact details are here, or you can get them from Nutan at MGM.
Hi, Anjali. We do have a few questions. I shall read them out for you. So the first question is, in Canada, how many hours of school do you have? And how do you design your timetable to include all the projects and assignments?
Excellent question. And that is a big question for any teacher, I'm sure. So the way our school works, because different schools can be different, and high school is different from elementary, but I can only talk about my school. So we have 15 hours of teaching in a week. But on that, on top of that, we also have advisors, we have after school activities. So we are in school actually from 8:45 to around 5:30 p.m. if we have after school. It's a long day. It's a very, very long day and very intense. We keep so busy that we don't even have time sometimes to eat lunch at our leisure. However, because the school is so dynamic and we get so much support from the administration to do what we want to do, we get excited over everything that we do. So the type of projects I design are mostly on our own time or during school time, but I'm not the only one who does it there, honestly. It's almost everybody because that's the type of teacher who can survive in the school. So it is just devoting more time because I never personally for me I never do anything because I can get a promotion or anything else. I just do it because I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think most of us are about what we do, and that is what drives me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is probably these kind of hours, even a regular college in India wouldn't work, right? So I'm impressed with that. Yes. And the next question, Anjali, is what is your ratio of theory to practical?
Good question. So we do have, so the type of experiments that we design for the AP physics are all inquiry based in the sense we don't give them the procedure directly, and they're not normal experiments that you might see in other physics classes. They are more holistic, and the students have to, so we give them the theory. So they're not just proving the theory in the experiments, they are actually answering a question that we give them. For example, if people of physics are there, for the circular motion, we ask them to design a conical pendulum experiment to find the acceleration due to gravitational force, which is something totally new because the way it is designed is they will design the procedure, they will derive the equation, they will make the bridge from the theory to the experiment for the measurable variables, the control variables, and then design the procedure in their group. So none of the experiments are direct experiments. So 25 to 30% of the time in the year is devoted to performing experiments in classes. Does that answer the question, I hope?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. We have a few more, so I request you to take them. This is, ma'am, how many students do you have in a class? And how do you customize the learning path for each student? Because often they might have diverse interests.
Excellent question again. So we have around between 15 and 20 students in our classes. So it's a smaller class compared to probably India. Now, to customize for each student, so the curriculum, because the AP physics curriculum is very intense. So the curriculum is taught, however, it is customized by flexible deadlines, giving them support. If somebody is a pro tennis player and has to go out for the competitions, when they come back, they are given support. If they're going on a trip for the school, they are giving the academic support when they return. Or the project itself, the design thinking projects, everything is about physics project, or the global ed project also that they do. All of those are for the students' interest and not for the curriculum interest. So each student has an opportunity during the year to think through what they want to do rather than doing everything that I want them to do. So there are portions of something that they have to do for the exam, and then there is a portion which is also their own niche, expertise, interest, or passion.
Yeah, thank you for that. The next question is, how do you deal with students who don't respond to anything? They don't talk to anyone, they just be there in the school because their parents force them to go. And how do you help students with dyslexia? And just one request, Anjali, if you can have your video on, because we would love
Oh,
to
I
see.
thought it was on. I didn't realize it wasn't on. I'm so sorry. Just give me 1 second. I think because I had it on in the PowerPoint, just give me 1 second. I'll switch it off from here. Give me 1 second and I will. Okay. I'll come back here. Can you see me now?
Sorry, no.
Okay, so let me do one more time. I will just close the thing. I'm so sorry about this.
Don't worry at all.
Yeah. No, I will just, I think, switch off the PowerPoint totally. Does it show up now? It
Yes.
should show up because I have, is
Yeah,
it okay? Oh, good.
absolutely.
Thank you for telling me that. So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the is about, if you have a child in your class who doesn't really want to be there and is there only because the parents have asked the child to be there. And the other one is about special needs children. So, how do you help children with dyslexia?
Okay. So there are two things I always say to people when people ask me, how are the students in your class? I always say there are always four kinds of students. The first type are hardworking and really good in your subject. The second type are good in your subject but not as hardworking. The third type are they are they are actually so hardworking and intelligent, and then not so hardworking and intelligent, and then intelligent and not so hardworking, and then the fourth kind are who are trying but they can't be where they want to be. But we have to cater to all of them, and that's what the question is. The other part of it is we always think that the most talkative student in the class is the smartest. Or if they're participating vocally, they're really good. I used to think the same way, but lately, actually, I have discovered that that is not the case. It's a cultural issue. It could be just that they want to be quiet and just listen, because I've had the quietest student do the best in class. So think of one thing. We always think that having fun in class may mean jumping around or talking a lot or being happy, looking happy. But then I started thinking about it for myself. If somebody gives me a calculus worksheet or a physics worksheet, I will work on it very quietly, but inside I will be having fun with it. Nobody can see me laughing or dancing, but I am having fun with it. And that is what I want for my students. Although I want them to participate during discussions and I encourage them to do that. But if they're not comfortable, for me, it's more important that they're comfortable and learning well rather than me pushing them to do something they may not be comfortable in. And normally there is only one or two students in the class who may be like that, because especially in physics, they have to be interactive. But if there is one and they're doing all the things I want them to do, I'm not hugely concerned. But yes, there may be some who are not interested to be there and the parents have pushed them. Those are the ones we have to talk individually with and ask them what they really want, and then talk to their parents probably and ask them why they have put the student there, and then maybe work together as a group to help them, the students, get where they want, or maybe move out to the normal physics section in which AP is not being taught. So yes, it is a challenging thing for teachers to deal with, and sometimes there is no solution, but these are the ways we can work around things if possible.
Thank you for that. One last question where they say, ma'am, do you use curriculum integration for teaching? Like two teachers co-teaching, for instance, English with math or math with music, etc.
Good. So for the longest time, I've been trying to do cross-curricular projects. And because everybody is so busy in their own things, it's really hard for people to even sit down and chat about these things. However, that was the biggest reason I started the Everything is About Physics project. Because students, if they're interested in economics, they work on economics project and explore physics. So because on the first day of my grade 11 class, I challenged my students to find something in which physics principles cannot be applied. And if they cannot find, I'll stop teaching. Now, the statement is said not because I am actually just pushing them to do something, but the interest when they come to class with questions and we discuss them, everybody learns through the process. And that is what becomes their project at the end of the year. So this is what happened. So once a student came and told me that, Dr. Ahooja, I want to do my project on 2008 economic recession. And I was stumped, honestly, because I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, how will you do that? He said, no, Dr. Ahooja, don't worry. You may not know, but there is a course in university called Econophysics where they teach economics with physics principles. I looked it up and it was true. And I learned something. So every year I'm learning from the students about such projects. And he he connected with the professor, learned about the econophysics, talked about it in my class, and everybody learned, including myself. One student did on marketing, sports is very common, psychology, brain, how the tech giants become tech giants and some of them fail totally, physics of that. Because you can apply physics anywhere and it's taught like that. Music is very common again. So all their passions come out in my class because of this project. So instead of doing a cross curricular, I just bring it in my class and train them to how to connect with outside. Students have connected with Harvard professors, they've connected with, like they find people who can help them. So I've done it the opposite way because of time constraints.
I understand, yeah. But then, of course, the children get a taste of actually
Yes,
working on multiple subjects and they identify their mentors for the same. So,
yes.
yeah, that's a great idea. I think we would also love to try it out here. Thank you so much, Anjali. That brings me to the end of all the questions that have been raised by the audience. But again, on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi Mission University and NGM Education Unlimited, I want to personally thank you for making this time for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Namrata. It was a pleasure. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.